Our holiday is about to start, for we are off on Friendship Flight 108 for Blenheim, heading for the Rye Valley, where we are to spend a week on Glendollar Farm as the guests of the Ingalls family. Hilda nor I have visited farm in New Zealand before, or anywhere else for that matter, and are looking forward immensely to the experience. The prospect of this trip had influenced us some weeks before in our decision to buy a movie camera. I had always argued against this idea of Hilda's, saying it would be a complete waste of money. What would we find to film? But now, with the prospect of all those farm animals to photograph, I relented, and so there I was, filming everything in sight, with a spanking new camera that I knew practically nothing about. This film represents our very first try at movie making, so bear with us over the jump cuts. We touched down after a very short flight at Blenheim Airport, and were duly met by Bill and Hazel and their two children, Jennifer and Brendan, and were soon breezing along in their car, heading for the Rye Valley and the farm. We hadn't been at the farm very long before Hilda set off to explore. She almost started a stampede when she unwittingly frightened a bunch of sheep that dashed off and headed straight through a gate that we'd left open and into the farmyard, where Bill's sheepdog, Boy, quickly set to work chasing them out again. Hilda next came across a couple of very friendly calves. This habit of licking people obviously isn't only a peculiarity of dogs alone, for this calf seemed determined to rasp the skin off Hilda's hand. Jenny and Bill came around, and Jenny thought it might be a good idea to try and ride one, but changed her mind when she saw how far down it was for her to fall. Some children from the farm next door came over and asked to borrow Pinto, the Ingalls pony, so Bill went out and brought it into the yard, where the children had a great time riding him. It looked easy, so Hilda thought she would have a try, but she found extreme difficulty in even getting into the saddle. When she finally got there, she was far from confident. Hazel set off, leading the pony along at a steady trot. I kept my finger on the trigger of the camera the whole time, but it was most disappointing. She never fell off once. Jenny wanted to have a ride too, but it was considered she was too young, so one of the girls gave her a ride on her back. But she soon got tired of this, and got her own way, and surprised us all with her confident handling of Pinto. Now on the farm there were two ducks, one male, one female. Ever since they'd been ducklings, They had been brought up with hens, and they didn't seem to know that ducks were supposed to like swimming in ponds, for not a stone's throw from the farm was quite a large pond, but they wouldn't go near it. They preferred to hang around the farmyard, waiting for titbits that might come their way, and for their daily swims they made do with a dog's drinking bowl. Some months after our holiday, the Ingalls visited us at our home, and brought the male duck with them as a present, all plucked and trussed, and very dead. It was very nice of them, but it was very upsetting. I felt I'd lost a personal friend. I'd seen this piece of film so often, but he was quite delicious all the same. Nook, the farmer next door, breeds pigs, and a few days before, one of his sows had given birth to 13 piglets. I thought this would make excellent material for filming, but when we got there, we found Nook was away up the hill burning off bracken, and so, as the sow was in a very dark shed and tended to be rather aggressive, I was not successful. Mandy is the pet dog on the farm, and Jennifer and Mandy are great friends, as you can see from this delightful study. This is Mandy's bath month. She only has a bath twice a year, and you can imagine the amount of grime that accumulates in that time. While Bill is away getting the bath ready in the yard, Mandy plays tug-of-war with a piece of rope. The kittens wonder what it's all about. They never need to take a bath. Aren't cats fortunate, being supplied by nature with so much surplus saliva that bathing is made completely unnecessary? And in spite of the fact they never take a bath, they must be undoubtedly one of nature's cleanest animals. Ah, the bath's ready, and poor dirty Mandy's in for it. Although she doesn't seem to object, I somehow get the idea that she'd really much prefer to stay dirty. Ah, it's all over. What a relief. The last day of our holiday had arrived, and so we would go away with a vivid picture of the valley in our minds and camera. Bill proposed taking us to the very top of the hill. We set off. It didn't look very far from the bottom, but it's surprising how deceptive the grade and distance was. When we'd been climbing for half an hour, the top still seemed as far away as ever, and the grade got very steep in places. Then we found out that what we'd thought to be the top, when looking up from the valley, was no more than a ridge. The actual top was much further on. As we climbed, we could still hear Boy, Bill's sheepdog, back at the farm, He had seen us go and wanted to come too, but Bill said he was a working dog and running loose would only spoil him. Well, this was the end of our stay in the Rye Valley, but we would return again, even if only in spirit, each time we screen our Down on the Farm.